It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Clans Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop, Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Another wonderful Thursday afternoon to you, everyone. Thank you so very much for staying with Real FM Radio, MBC Television, for the Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, your host and the producer, alongside our technical operator, Alton Jaquan Joseph. And our program, as you know, airs weekdays from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on the radio station, as I've said, Real FM, that serves you on the dual frequencies of 91.3 for the North and 91.5 South. We're also on Facebook Live and on YouTube live streaming. Hope you're having a good day so far. For me, it is just that. Once again, I noticed that the heat is starting to ramp up a bit, and I keep hoping, but accepting, the will of God. And, it's so good for so many other things, for tourism, for sports, etc., that it doesn't, become, as I referenced, it's suffocating before. So it is what it is. We have to deal with the weather as we have to deal with so many other things, many of them man-made, many of them caused by people, sometimes unnecessarily, sometimes perniciously so, but other times for good benefit, even at times when we don't see it in that context, at least not immediately, that even the malice of people, can sometimes work out for our good and for our benefit. And for that, we must always give thanks. Like the biblical story of Joseph with his brothers. In forgiving them, he said, "You meant me evil, but God meant it for good." Yeah, so sometimes people can mean things for evil, for malice, but then it works out for good. And then we can jump forward to the New Testament where it is said, God makes all things work together for good to them that love him. So, even at times when we get ourselves dismayed about things, they can work out for our benefit, for our good. I'm speaking that way because we're in the Lenten season, right? It's a time for reflection. So I share a bit of my reflections with you. I'm alone today. Terry Fenelon is on other duties. He told me down in the south, but will likely be available tomorrow. So going solo. I did mention to you about a dream that I had and how it disturbed me. It's just a dream really, but like I said, this one was particularly vivid considering how patchy my sleep is, that many times if I dream at all, I can't remember them. But this one, I remembered it in detail when I came out of it, that Russia conquered America. That the Russian military occupied America without a shot being fired. So America was defeated not on the battlefield, but by a subterfuge that arose from within their own country. And here's how, in summary, it happened. Americans rose up against Donald Trump. The protest, etc., and so on, they just grew absolutely irrepressible. I think in the dream elections came, Trump couldn't run again. He tried his best to see whether he could bend and twist the law so that he would be allowed to run, but he stood firm. And the very same thing, and worse this time, the January 6th thing of not wanting to leave office. And in the protest against him, the demonstrations, the violence and so on, it actually worsened. At each other's throats, those who supported him versus those who did not. And it's amazing the kind of support that he had. Until a civil war broke out in America. Now, it's 200 plus years, I think. No, not 200 plus years. It was in 18 something that there was an American civil war. And so Trump held on to office claiming that he needed to calm things down. And it hurt his heart so badly to see Americans killing each other, that America had contributed so much to peacekeeping around the world that it was time for America to accept some peacekeeping. Even though he had to leave office, he would accept that, but he couldn't leave office and see Americans killing each other, especially since the American armed forces had become divided. The armed forces, I don't think they had broke out into shooting at each other yet, but the armed forces were split into camps of commanders who felt that the Constitution was being hijacked and he had to go, and those who supported him. So it was a case where the United States Armed Forces had become divided against itself, and he said that frightened him so much that he couldn't stomach the possibility of American Marines shooting at, Rangers and 82nd Airborne Division firing at, all the different things that they had. So he believed it was time for America to accept foreign peacekeepers. And guess who volunteered? Guess who volunteered with his whole heart to come and to help America out in that time of difficulty? Because he was so happy at how America had mended fences with them, at how they had seen the reasonableness of President Trump. And they really believed in his sincerity in not wanting to see another American civil war. What do you think? Vladimir Putin volunteered to send Russian forces to America. It was, on the surface, a rather benevolent gesture. And Trump ordered the U.S. armed forces to stand down so that they would not be warring against each other and causing potentially millions of Americans to die. And so Russia came in supposedly to help America out in a difficult spot at the invitation of President Trump, who, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, ordered U.S. Armed Forces to stand down. Well, guess what happened? Russia used that as an opportunity to disarm at least the pliant, at least the conforming U.S. Armed Forces, to disarm them, and before you knew it, what was a peacekeeping became a takeover. It became an occupation. It's fanciful, but it's just a dream, just remember. But it bothered me deeply, and I said, even if it doesn't reach that point, for I doubt Americans with any degree of docility would accept foreign forces, even if they're president, although I have found that Americans with surprising ease seem to be caving in to presidential authority, which is being exercised in a very autocratic manner. And so these executive orders, which really ought not to be constitutional or in conformity with the law, they seem to be going mostly unchallenged, or the challenge is delayed, that by the time it snakes its way through the courts, time would have passed, damage would have been done, and maybe it will be moot because the 4 years would have been up, and whatever happens after that, we don't know. I said to myself, the way things are going there, and the manner in which Americans seem to interpret literally the position of the president as being the commander-in-chief, will there be any American commanders that if Trump says to them, go and grab Greenland by force, how many of them will really say, Mr. President, no, we can't do that, I will not do that, or will resign? How many of them, if he says, go grab Panama or Mexico or take Canada by force to make it the 51st state and so on, how many of them, if he decides to pull out of NATO, if he decides to attack NATO countries that are standing up to Russia on the side of Ukraine? Because, the unthinkable is already happening when America can go to the United Nations and vote against a resolution identifying and condemning Russia as the aggressor nation in its war upon Ukraine. It's not just the fact that America sided with Russia, but who are the allies of Russia that America now sides with, together with Russia, against the resolution. I thought Trump was a man who was absolutely resolute against Iran, but he voted with Russia along with Iran. I thought Trump was a man who was determined to tell the North Korean leader that he has often derided as Little Rocket Man, Kim Jong-un, that there will be fire and fury like never before. And yet it was Russia, Iran, North Korea that he voted alongside. You know, strange alliances when strange things happen. So what may seem unthinkable about that dream may be totally conceivable in terms of the reality, because I don't think Russia, according to what we have been told about its military, would have sufficient forces to occupy the United States of America, even if they were to so easily disarm them. You know, U.S. armed forces becoming the U.S. disarmed forces. Who are the likely nations that Russia would call upon to help it with the occupation and the subduing of America, if it's not the same Iran, which is playing a part in that invasion of Ukraine alongside Russia, supplying weapons, I don't know, for troops, North Korea, which has troops, you know, on the battlefield in Ukraine, siding with Russia and so on, and whoever else that America considered to be rogues in times past that they absolutely were not hearing anything about them. So, folks, my apprehension and my alarm were further enhanced this morning when I woke to the news that Trump is thinking of getting rid of the U.S. Department of Education. But, all these concerns about Chinese and all those people coming to take over America, a lot of it has to do with Americans not taking education seriously, from what I've heard. They come and they poach upon teachers from our part of the world and go on because teachers, you know, people don't find teaching attractive anymore. And our people, Guyanese and so on, when they get there, they can't stand the public school system. It's so insufferable. Students feel they have so much rights and so on. They don't want to take education seriously. The Chinese and those people who come from countries where they've had to endure repression, they come there and they seize those opportunities eagerly and tightly with both hands. They apply themselves and they're generally doing better in the school system, especially in the neglected areas of mathematics, the sciences, technology, and so on. And so a lot of times when you look at the people who become professors of physics and so on, you look at the eyes and so on, and you know they come from that side of the world, the Asiatic side, the Chinese and those people. A lot of the Americans, they're lagging behind. Agriculture, they talk about agriculture and so on. A lot of the people who come and who take agriculture seriously, even if it's only as farm laborers and so on, they're people who come from Mexico, they're people who come from El Salvador, they're people who come from the lower southern parts of the Americas and so on. Americans, either they've become too big or the money is not enough for them. So I thought and I said to myself, this gutting, this eviscerating, this disemboweling of the American government, to the point where you are going to get rid of your education system, it is totally in line with people who probably feel a public department, what we would call a ministry, I'll come to that in a while, of education in our country. It isn't important. Because at the end of the day, the wealthy, the billionaires, the millionaires, the better off and so on, they don't need the public education system. They probably have turned their backs on it. They are well off sufficiently to send their children to private schools and to expensive, private universities, the state-owned, they don't need that anymore. Who are the people who need the public education system and the public schools and who need support and so on? It's usually, the less privileged, the disadvantaged, the poorer, the black people in particular. So you get rid of Department of Education. Let those people fend for themselves, Myself, Trump, and Elon Musk, and those who are, a little rung below us and so on, they can get through in paying the very high private fees and so on. And I thought about it and I said, okay, given the propensity in our country for certain people, and you know who I'm talking about, to model themselves almost totally on Donald Trump, even to the point that when they, sadly, won their way through elections into government, they seem confused that we don't have departments here according to the nomenclature of the American government. What we have are ministries. What we began to hear was, it's a department, isn't it? Education, it's a department. Suddenly, a certain chap who had worked in the Ministry of Planning, he said, he couldn't bear to call our ministries They were departments. He tried that for a while. It seemed to have petered out. It seemed to have smoked itself into thin air after some time. But he wanted to call our ministries departments. Why? Because he was so intent upon absolutely copycatting, the United States of America, even to the point that he couldn't bring himself to call our government ministries anymore. Already have ministries, and the ministries have departments in them. You have the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, blah, blah, blah. And within it, you have a Department of Human Resource Development. You have a Department of etc., of Curriculum and Materials Development, Unit CAMDO, and so on. And even within those departments, you have what are called units, Within the department, the extension department, you might have, something else that has a subset of it. It is about sets and subsets and so on. Alan Shastney, when he first came to office, was actually trying to rename our ministries as departments. He tried a lot of things, the whole cluster concept of you have him as prime minister, and Dominic Fede is a minister in the prime minister's office responsible for tourism, and Sarah Flood is a minister in the prime minister's office responsible for foreign affairs. Folks, there's some ministries and some departments and so on that you consider to be small, maybe of less significance and weight, that you append them as a subset of a bigger ministry. But when you tell me major portfolios like foreign affairs, tourism, civil aviation, you want to subsume them as subsets of the Prime Minister's office, maybe one or two, but so many of them at the time. It just shows what I've been saying a long time, that this man's head is clearly not in St. Lucia. His identification, his nexus and bonding, he does not identify with us. If he is a St. Lucian at all or considers himself, it is only nominally so. He has said he is a product of Canada. He looks at everything about him in terms of his outlook, in terms of his theory, I wouldn't even say philosophy, and right down to his intended praxis is something that is connected to, something that is informed by, something that is modeled upon, almost like something you use tracing paper and you trace it upon North America, the United States and Canada. But I'm hoping that as we watch what is happening to the United States, and I keep saying that, the most powerful, what is supposed to be the most avant-garde, the most enlightened country on earth, the most sophisticated, the most advanced, and you see this kind of wreck job happening from within, because of a self-worshipper who has won election. And two things that seem to impress people now: entertainment, the reality TV, thing about Donald Trump and so on, and the whipping up of the hype and the excitement and so on, and the money. We have this thing about money where we have come to the point where we don't just love money, we worship money, and we worship people who say they have it or who seem to have it or who actually have it and so on. That we will see what seems to me the early signs, but the definite signs of meltdown taking place in the world's greatest country, and we will take example, nokai point example, about any inclination or thought that we may have to give this man Alan Shastney another chance at heading the government of St. Lucia. At least America has the resilience of size, of wealth, of development, of options and so on, that it can probably bounce back. I've told you, any country like America who can have and absorb more than $35 trillion of debt, not by its government and so on, and for that government to still be functioning. You can print money and do all, but 35 trillion, there must be some great depth and resilience to it. Do we have it in St. Lucia? Can we afford to let Alan Shastney come and do another round of magie, another round of foolishness, another round of pappy show, another round of SH something ATE whatever, Can we afford to allow him to come back and to do those things with our country? People are saying Americans have a lot of buyer's remorse right now. We don't need to wait. Let's not call ourselves buyers. We are voters. We are people of this country. We are islanders. We are, I hope, patriots and so on. That we will not put ourselves in a position to have that kind of remorse that I'm told now protests are breaking out all over the place as people are seeing what is really happening. You're vanquishing a department of education in your country, where study upon study has shown how you are lagging behind other nationalities that have come, the Native American and so on, and the disadvantages that will accrue to those who can't pay their way through Harvard and Princeton and all this sort of thing, and who cannot afford private schooling, but they need the public system, etc., etc. I say enough upon that. My thing about focusing upon America so much is that I see parallels in terms of what we have seen begin to unfold. And maybe now we can look back and say, thank you, Lord, for the COVID pandemic. Thank you that it put a little cog in the wheel, that it put a little stumble in the stride of certain people, that they couldn't get to move as smoothly in their flow of what they intended to do. Perhaps all the lives that were lost and so on, maybe there is a silver lining in that otherwise very, very gloomy cloud that people could not do what they wanted to do. Enough said on that. Let me move on. Jaquan, do you have that clip? It's 7 minutes long. So we have just going up to... My question is, what is Venezuela doing with its continued aggression against Guyana, especially at this time? With Donald Trump and the Republicans back in office, we know they don't like Venezuela. They don't like Maduro. They don't like the socialist government. They're always looking to put a squeeze on them and to put all kind of... Last time the fellas decided that they're going to choose who the president of Venezuela should be. That they're not satisfied with the elections and they're going to, appoint and name somebody else to be the president of Venezuela. Ukraine at the time, Zelensky was not yet president. I think he came in a year after or so on. Ukraine at the time was one of those, who did it. This one Guaido thing and so on that they went on. But CARICOM, for all its haplessness, for all its powerlessness, they stood up on the side of Venezuela. Mia Motley, whatever my criticisms about, she was courageous to stand up. She tried to broker, some kind of negotiation and talks and reconciliation and so on about that thing and so on between Guyana, about Venezuela and what they were trying to do to them. The last time when the Venezuela elections were approaching in 2023, leading to 2024, Venezuela started its whole thing about the Essequibo and the territorial claims on 5/8 of Guyana, that they were cheated out of it. I made some mention of it, but many people who tell me they're better informed called me and they said, Shelton, cool out on that. Maduro is only making those noises because it is a very intense subject. A lot of national passions are involved. So you go there and you say, okay, you are basically leaving that alone. You lose the election. Maduro wants to win the election, so he's whipping up the nationalistic and the patriotic fervor and so on about the Essequibo. He's not serious about it. Once the elections are over and he's won, he's going to drop that. So why is this thing happening still? When CARICOM has stood toe to toe with Venezuela, and I'm sure, shoulder to shoulder, that they will continue to do the same thing in solidarity, to say, don't put sanctions, don't do this to Venezuela, that we reckon. Venezuela is only not a CARICOM member in name, Venezuela has been embraced, has been considered an equal, a partner, a friend, whatever. Why at this time? Elections have been won. Maduro is in office. Trump is there and Rubio, and they will do their best to mess up Venezuela. Why now do you want to open antagonism with CARICOM? Because once you open it with Venezuela, you're going to open it with CARICOM. CARICOM will not abandon, Guyana. They will stand with Guyana. So let's hear what President Irfan Ali had to say about this at a recent address to his country / press conference.
My fellow Guyanese, I address you today to inform you of a serious development concerning our nation's maritime territory. This morning, Saturday, 1st of March 2025, at approximately 7 hours, a Venezuelan armed patrol ship entered Guyana's waters. During this incursion, the Venezuelan vessel approached various assets in our exclusive waters, including FPSO Prosperity. Based on visible markings, the patrol vessel was identified as ABF Guakeri PO-11 IMO 4695542, a Venezuelan Coast Guard vessel. Our assets and FPSO Prosperity are operating lawfully within Guyana's exclusive economic zone. The patrol vessel transmitted a radio message declaring that the FPSO was operating in what it termed disputed international waters before continuing its course in a southwesterly direction toward other FPSOs. Let me be unequivocal. Guyana's maritime boundaries are recognized under international law, and this incursion is a matter of grave concern. However, I assure you that my government is not acting precipitously. We are addressing this situation within the seriousness and responsibility it requires. We have already summoned the Venezuelan ambassador. The Minister of Foreign Affairs would have summoned him to his office, registering our strong protests over this matter. Additionally, I've also already advised our embassy in Venezuela, in Caracas, to lodge a formal protest with the Venezuelan government. I'm pleased to also communicate to you that we have reached out to all our international partners, and all our international partners have responded positively. These include the UK, France, the USS, RSS, CARICOM, and we continue to work with other neighbors, Brazil, at the military level and at the level of the state. We are monitoring this situation. I can tell you that the chair of CARICOM is already actively engaging on this matter with Venezuela, and also the Argyle Agreement, the interlocutor in the Argyle Agreement, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, has been informed of this development, and he is also in communication with Caracas. I've also spoken to the leader of the opposition and briefed him on the initial circumstances. Later today, as we have greater details, the leader of the opposition and I will be meeting so that he can be fully briefed and updated on this matter. Our international partners, as I said, are fully updated. We have established clear lines of communication. The Defense Board is meeting and will continue to be meeting throughout the course of today. The military leadership will have already met, and we have already deployed air assets. We have already deployed air assets within our exclusive economic zone and within our exclusive waters. The Coast Guard is also in the process of being deployed. Later today, we'll formally advise the International Court of Justice of this incident. Our lawyers are working with us to ensure that the documentation are fully prepared. We'll also bring this matter to the immediate attention of the Secretary General of the United Nations, the Commonwealth, the Organization of American States, and of course, as I said, CARICOM. While all of these organizations would have already been advised by Guyana verbally, we are now in the process of preparing formal documents that will be submitted within the course of the day. Additionally, we'll continue engagement of other international partners to ensure that Guyana's sovereignty and rights under international law are upheld. Whilst greater details will be shared later today, I can assure you that our international partners stand resolute and ready in support of Guyana and in ensuring that our sovereignty and territorial integrity is respected and honored. Guyana remains committed to peace and the rule of law. We will continue to pursue diplomatic solutions, but we will not tolerate threats to our territorial integrity. Our security and foreign affairs teams are fully engaged, and we are closely monitoring all developments. So I want to assure the people of Guyana that our government is acting with diligence and resolve. I will provide further updates as more information becomes available. I also want to reiterate that this is a national matter, and as I have already did, the opposition will be fully engaged, fully briefed, and all of Guyana would have the relevant information that is necessary. May God bless the people of Guyana and all the peoples of our region. Thank you.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Appreciate you staying with the real issues on this Thursday, the 6th of March 2025 with me, Shelton Daniel, and just want to remind you that tonight from 8:30 on NBC television, Real FM radio as well, and on Facebook Live under its own page, Can I Help You with Richard Frederick? The program by that name will be co-hosted by Albert Fridges and myself in the absence of Honorable Richard Frederick. So just putting you on notice again that tonight 8:30 Can I Help You will be co-hosted by Albert Fridges and myself in the absence of Honorable Richard Frederick. Yesterday, a piece was published in the Voice, the Voice of St. Lucia Online, and it is titled Statement from Julian Alfred and the Manager Regarding the Julian Alfred Foundation. And it says, it has been nearly a year since the launch of the Julian Alfred Foundation in April, and that would have been April 2024, of course, with the official registration process initiated in October through Brickstone Law Firm. However, despite continuous efforts and due diligence, we find ourselves in a frustrating and unacceptable situation where no official account has been opened to receive deposits and contributions. Throughout this period, the Foundation has received generous commitments from key stakeholders, including Puma, St. Lucian businesses, and private individuals who wish to contribute to this noble cause. However, due to the ongoing delays and bureaucratic obstacles, these contributions remain in limbo, unable to be deposited or utilized for the intended purpose, supporting St. Lucian youth in education, sports, and mental health development. Additionally, we have been approached by St. Lucians in both Europe and the USA, who have expressed a strong desire to donate through checks. Regrettably, we have had to refuse these contributions due to the lack of an operational account and the Foundation's incomplete registration process. At a critical juncture, the Julian Alfred Foundation is on the verge of securing a major international partnership with Global Ports Holding, GPH, the world's largest cruise operation company, which recently added St. Lucia Cruise Port to its portfolio. Julian Alfred is poised to serve as an ambassador showcasing St. Lucia globally through their marketing initiatives. Furthermore, she is in discussions with a distinguished jewelry designer with a vision to contribute a significant portion of her earnings from these agreements directly to the Foundation. Despite her unwavering commitment to giving back to the community, the continued delays and inefficiencies threaten to deprive St. Lucian youth of scholarships, educational opportunities, sports development, and mental health support. The lack of urgency and accountability in resolving these matters is not only disheartening, but also counterproductive to the Foundation's mission. We refuse to accept complacency and the blame game any longer. Julian Alfred and her team demand immediate resolution and action from the relevant authorities. If this situation persists, we will have no choice but to explore relocating the Foundation to the United States to ensure its viability and the fulfillment of its mission. Time is of the essence. We call upon those responsible to step forward, take ownership, and work toward a swift resolution so that the Julian Alfred Foundation can begin making a tangible difference in the lives of young St. Lucians. The paragraphs that caught my attention, that raised my eyebrows, so to speak, we refuse to accept complacency and the blame game any longer. Who's being complacent and who's blaming anybody or using blame game tactics, for the delay and so on? Who are those responsible that you are demanding that they step forward and take ownership? Whoever it is. As you know, the favorite and default whipping boy tends to always be government. This government, this Philip JPL-led government, this government with Kenson Kazimi as the Minister for Sports and Youth Development, this government that has pulled out all the stops and gone every way to elevate Julian Alfred to national hero in status and to, honor her. Someone so young in every way was already said that the Millennium Highway will be renamed the Julian Alfred Highway and so on. We just done all of that. They will frustrate the establishment of a Julian Alfred Foundation. We have to get our heads right, Just like I tried to explain yesterday what Virginia Albert had told me about the passport cycle. They want to watch, not to put it too long, a whole decade and so on, so that they don't have to recall passports and issue new ones and all of that. So the 5-year cycle is more manageable in terms of the continuously changing security environment for risk and threats and so on. It's the same way we have to tell ourselves, can the government dictate to banks what their processes are in terms of meeting all the regulations and laws, domestic and international and so on, to combat fraud and money laundering and a whole lot of different things that they're concerned about? And it didn't take long for me to know that the attempt to set up this account, and I can even tell you the name of the bank, it's First National Bank, St. Lucia, if I remember, I don't think it's Bank of St. Lucia. First National Bank St. Lucia Limited. And they went there and they didn't even have the documents that the bank requires for the opening of such an account. It's not an ordinary accounts, personal accounts. You see all the song and dance about all the ID and all the this and source of funds that you have to provide. I told you some time ago, one of the banks, a loan for a vehicle, the kind of back and forth about where I live and bring an electricity bill and bring a plan of the residence and a map sheet and a whole lot of different things. I said, what? All of that. That's personal. A foundation must have directors. And you need to bring in documentation about the directors, who they are. They have to be registered and so on. What is the supporting document for them and so on, and a whole lot of things if they're going to be directors of a foundation. Are any of them declared bankrupt or have filed for bankruptcy? What is their standing with integrity, laws of St. Lucia, and a whole lot of different things you have to do? They didn't have that kind of documentation. It's not the documentation that Philip J. Pierre required, or Wayne Girard required, or Kenson Kazimi. It is the documentation that the bank required. The bank now, especially First National Bank, ever since they had this acquisition where I think they acquired the assets or whatever, or some of the bank, I even forget now and so on. They have a very, very strict compliance department. And when you see compliance say they need this and they need that, you don't have it, you're not moving forward. Sometimes it almost seems, like it's two banks operating in one. You'll go to a loan officer and they'll tell you, okay, everything is okay in whatever, and they'll send it across, and compliance will say, hold on. We need this, we need that, we need this verification, we need that verification, we need etc. You have your road listed as Daniel Drive, but on the map it is shown as Daniel Road. We have to get this corrected and so on. Remove the drive, the official name is registered as XYZ ABC, and it takes a whole time to do things all over again. And that is a problem. They did not have the documents that the bank required, including the information about the directors, who the directors be. Now, the banking situation now, folks, is very complicated, it's very strict, it's very elaborate, it's very detailed and so on. And it is all because of what is happening. Same thing with the passports, all the fraud and all the anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism and a whole lot of different things now. The whole fraud environment and all they want to avoid. It may be a local bank, but it is interconnected with the international banking system. If you're going to have foreign donors who will be sending money to it, whether by wire, whether by check and so on, the countries, they mentioned Europe and North America, they're watching those things very closely. The movement of funds, who are the people? Are they trying to disguise? Are they trying to hide money through foundations and those things? So when you send information on directors, it has to be complete. It has to be people who are acceptable to the bank. The bank will do its own checks on them. And I think in the process, one of the nominated directors was removed and they changed to another person. So they have now to do due diligence on that other person. It's a whole lot. It's not a personal account you're talking about. It's a foundation. So all the fidelity, all the I's have to be dotted. All the T's have to be properly crossed. Everything has to be properly down packed. So when they go writing those letters that have, or to newspapers that have no byline and so on to them, maybe because they want to put pressure on, whether it's Kenson Kazimi or another of the favorite whipping boys now is Ernest Hilaire and so on. Who knows, they'll find a way to bring Richard Frederick into it, because nowadays that's the man, Richard Frederick, goodbye, Richard Frederick, They'll find a way to show is no way that this government is going to frustrate the setting up of a Julian Alfred Foundation when they have pulled out all the stops and gone, out on a limb above and beyond so many things, to big up Julian Alfred in every possible way. Yeah, but this is what is happening. The delay is in satisfying the bank's requirements for documentation and certification and directors and all the things that pertain to the setting up of a foundation, its registration, its this and that, etc., etc. That is where the holdup is. And if any government tries to use executive, Trump executive order immediately to try to use ministerial political power and so on to come and tell them, look, away with all those things. Establish the foundation. I'm telling you, first of all, the bank will reject it. Its directors, even if, for example, they were appointed by the government, they'll say, no, we're having no part of it. We prefer to resign instead, or they'll put up resistance and so on. And right away, it's going to be picked up. It's going to be picked up, and the information is going to be disseminated and diffused. And that foundation will find itself in all kinds of hurdles and blocks and impediments and frustrations. Funds can't be moved into it. Funds can't be moved out of it. Whatever is not being honored and so on. It's all other problems that can cause there. People who are familiar with the banking system and so on, they will know more about that than I do. But it has nothing to do with government not lending support. When it comes to an internationally interconnected system such as banks, we know the problems they've had with correspondent banking relationships and the loss of it. You go doing certain things like that, and all you will do is hurt your correspondent banking relationship more than it has already been hurt. Your correspondent banks that want to drop you because they say the risk to them is too great, the de-risking, their de-risking will result in our debanking. They will be debanked. Because once you see you cannot have those correspondent relationships, you are as good as dead in the water. That is what is happening with efforts to set up the Julian Alfred Foundation. Whoever wrote that, I believe you wrote it mischievously, because once you put about those responsible and the delay and the frustration, people's minds always default to the favorite whipping boy, gouvernement. If you didn't, my apologies. If it is the bank, settle your problems with the bank. Go to compliance, whatever, and say, look, how can we move this forward? They probably have told you already, But many times when we are told those things, we believe, top twaka. We want some kind of ministerial directive and so on. A minister who wants to showboat and grandstand can posture and issue a letter to the bank, but it didn't get in. Once you do not meet the requirements, which are in accordance with banking laws and regulations, the bank's compliance department will just freeze it there. It ain't going to go nowhere. It ain't going to go nowhere. Because at the end of the day, they'll tell you, they listened to some minister and they went and they bypassed certain required processes and procedures. Tomorrow, that same government, through its whatever department, monitoring and prosecutorial and special prosecutor department, will come at them for failing to do what they were supposed to do when it comes to the due diligence and the fact checking and the double checking and all of that. I hope we understand that. When you have people who exist before anything to be writing to British government and British embassy and Americans and trying to ramp up and rile them against you to mess you up, because they believe that if they can cripple you where your CIP is concerned, where your passports are concerned, where your banking system and correspondent banking, because they see that as perhaps the best gamble for them to get a chance to come back in power. They're doing it all the time. You got to make sure that you're spot on in everything you do, that you are totally circumspect, that you don't give them malicious maneuvers a prayer of a chance of succeeding. How to do that? You think Shastny and those people, they're just sitting there and so on. They're trying to exploit whatever connections that they have and so on. Maybe the only reason is it's still early in the Trump presidency, and Trump don't have too much time or regard from people, little small island people who don't really change things for him. What's at stake is not billions, it's probably 100 million. That don't mean too much for him. He'll look at the situation and see, okay, Venezuela is a much more significant target than Cuba, St. Lucia, who the hell are they? Maybe that's the only reason why, as yet. Have you seen the statement that Marco Rubio put out on Cuba? And all countries that use Cuban labor and what do you think they're talking about? The Cuban doctors and so on who come here to help us, the medical brigades and so on, as far as they're concerned, these are people who are forcibly recruited. I know there's a program in Brazil some time ago about, they were making a big noise about it, about Cuban doctors serving in Brazil and Brazil paying Cuba, the Cuban state, basically for making doctors available. The people even want to go down and dictate to people bilateral trade and bilateral friendship and all these kind of things. They're trying to go after on every way. This is a petty government in the United States that sweats the small stuff, that basically wants to go to war with its closest allies over chump change in the grand scheme of things and so on. You believe they're sitting down and they're not trying to see if they can exploit connections and whatever to see if they can mess up St. Lucia so that Philip J. Pierre and his government will be blamed by the people and it will be reflected in the ballot box? You gotta do everything right, my friend. Don't even write any letter to any bank asking them to waive and to skip the requirements of compliance and due diligence. Don't do that at all. Don't do that, Philip J. Pierre. I know you're gonna do it, but don't do that. Don't do that, Ernest Tiller. Don't do that, Kenson Kazimi. Let the bank do its banking. Let the bank follow its rules and regulations, a lot of which are based upon legislation either passed in our parliament, our sovereign parliament, or imported into our legislation as part of a bigger collective, whether of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union or whatever, that we've decided to take it as a collective, OECS Banking Act or whatever it is and so on, and we are complying with it. Sorry about the delay, sorry about the frustrations in Julian Alfred Foundation, but if your aim is to try to put the government on the spot, is to try to embarrass the government, whoever penned that article in The Voice and so on, it should not be allowed to stand. St. Lucia is bigger than any one individual, and we cannot jeopardize the good and the welfare of our country simply because we have some enthusiasm to say, oh my goodness me, we are so wowed to the point of worshiping. We cannot do that. It's happening to America now. One person who wants to be wowed and worshipped and to continuously have, those around him and the country and the world singing how great thou art to him and so on. Look at the chaos and confusion he's causing, and I suspect it has only just begun. Where are we now, Jaquan? All right, 22 minutes pass. A couple other things I want to say. Well, maybe just one other thing before I open the phone lines. Where am I now? Let's see. Okay. This one is going to be controversial. And when have I not been controversial? Let's see if we can get that. Let's see, where did I put some notes? Right. Let me just, before I get into that, say hello to a longtime friend of mine, Augustus Kade, the former permanent secretary, longtime community development / social transformation officer and so on, and by the way, brother of my good friend for a long time, Andrew Haynes, aka Yadi. So you know the family thing. I'm kind of tight with them. A long time. Lived, worked in Vieux-Fort and so on. No, Augustus Kade, like I said. Would be almost 40 years since we've known each other and been good with each other. And I think he is one of those who's interested, should Dr. Kenny Anthony decide to step down, in becoming the next candidate / MP for Vieux-Fort South, contesting on behalf of the Labour Party. I think he would make an excellent person, like the other people I've heard their names. Those that I know, such as Tresha Lionel, I think they're excellent. I made some comments some time ago about people who are interested in vying for seats, that they should ensure that their struggle does not become so internalized where the party is concerned, that it becomes like a tug of war, a tussle between them and the incumbent that they're seeking to replace. What they should do is try to develop connection, bonding, relationship with constituents. So that instead of going out and talking to people and criticizing the MP and saying, this person is not doing anything and this person is this, and creating bad blood, because if you go, you'll need the support of the person who's incumbent, because if they decide to be mess up against you, it hurts your chances. I'm not saying you still can't win, So you're aware that there's a little problem with people down the road, whatever. You have money, maybe you might go some drain that block and, it's overflowing in people's yard and loading up with mud. Sometimes it's not money, it's just you go there and you just tell the people, look, why don't we among ourselves organize a little kudme, I will donate 10 pounds of whether it's goat meat or whatever, and I will bake the dumplings for you all, and who will do that? And we can come and, our own little spades and so on, we can unblock the road, and the mud that we take out of it, we can use it over there to put around the banana trees, so they'll, this kind of little thing. And sometimes you come there, you're more chapat, you don't even know how to hold a spade or a fac or anything like that, But just the mere fact that people see you come in there with them in a little kudme, you crack some jokes at the same time, you do this kind of thing, this kind of advocacy, this kind of involving yourself in people's lives. And you don't even need to do it as if it's your project. You can even tell the MP, like Dr. Kenny Anthony said, seek the blessings of the person who's there, who you're looking to replace, if it's your own party. I don't think he meant go and kneel down in front of the person and say, I hereby anoint you. But you go to the MP and you say, those people over there, they have a problem. But they probably think it's always money or how much money, and I'm trying to organize a little kudme. It will build up the togetherness, the cohesion and the camaraderie and so on. Would you like to come? And maybe you might just come around. Yeah, the kind of thing I'm talking about. Some people, you've heard them complaining about some road problem. You can go draft a petition for them. Or you can go, you have some letter writing skills because you were a permanent secretary or you are a communications expert. Write a letter to Lucilec and so on. And Lucilec will tell you, because of the number of people, we would need some payment, 13,000 on top of whatever for the 2 poles, whatever, And you can set out, people will do a fundraiser so that we can pay whatever for it. And once they see you doing this kind of thing, this kind of advocacy, this kind of helpful intervention in the lives of people, even before you get the nod, it makes you look candidate material. It makes you look, representative material. You do this kind of thing. Now, you might want to go and say, since the representative there, he's not doing anything for the people don't have light, they're road in the area. But if you go and you say, okay, let's do a little kudme, let's get some pumice or some premix or some quarry waste in the meantime, people, until they do something, and you're there with your little coconut stem in a little stick as a tamper, you're tamping down on it, whatever. Folks, we can't build concrete drains and so on, but let me just, try to clean up the drains a little bit and the culvert, let's push a stick in it to unblock it and so on. And it's like I say, you're there, you're more gosh and more chapat, you don't know those things, but the people love you. They love you for just that. That's what I was saying. Augustus Kade called me about it. After he heard the program, we had a nice discussion. And I just want to tell you, Augustus, what you did there recently, that's what I'm talking about. Organize a little town hall, like little discussion at the Viewfort Library, at whatever it is. Bring people, let's brainstorm, folks. We have this, what can we do about that and so on? What kind of ideas we have? So it's the candidate thing you're going for, but you don't make it obvious. You're a man, you have so much experience and background and skills and, in exactly that area, community development, social transformation, rising up to the level of PS and all this kind of thing before you retire. So you are a man, you have a certain degree of standing and status and clout and experience. And in this kind of thing, you begin the mobilization of people for their own benefit, for the good of the community, of the constituency. And so now what I'm talking about, Augustus, you done it. I hope you continue. And others too. Do things that are not obtrusive, that are not abrasive, that are not antagonistic. But constituents, community members, they feel that you are working for improvement. The grass on the field growing and things and so, fellas, I have my little lawnmower will come there, who have a weed eater, whoever, so on. You seek the permission of whatever the authority spots. We just want to come and cut the grass and so on, so that the ministry don't have to put any money. It's amazing when you're there working, chatting, cleaning a cemetery, whatever it is. The little jokes and the nice little camaraderie that develops, and sometimes that becomes votes, down the line. So, Augustus, thanks for calling me about it. and having the nice chat we had, and I seem to see you moving along the lines of that vibe. But then, let me hurry up because I want after the break for me not to have to deal with any of those things. I've spoken before about the need for the government to avoid being seen as weak or helpless, pleading that matters are out of its hand. And I've said it with the Millennium Highway. It's not because it's British government money and CDB that appointed contractor and consultant, that when we see this thing, because it's on us, it's having a bad effect. It's affecting the flow of our traffic and our roads, because it's taken virtually out of circulation, out of commission, out of operation, a major road artery and so on. And so everybody now has to go to the morn and pass there and complains about how long this thing has been going on and so on. We supposed to, as they say, rage, against the effect that, whether it is incompetence, whether it is, that is causing this kind of thing. Don't ever, as a government, it's out of our hands and nothing. It's never out of your hands. You are the government. You have political power. You have the power that the people gave you. I'm not saying you can go down and wash this person from there and fire this person, but you're supposed to be able to make some noise so that this kind of things don't happen the way they have been happening. I've said so with roads. It don't matter whether it's police and so on. I know you don't go and take over ordering the transfer of this person or firing people. But you're supposed to be able to go and say, look, I'm very concerned about a police officer who seems to be more political than police in him. About the kind of statements that are being made and so on. And he's supposed to be able to say it with a certain forcefulness and repetitiveness and consistency that somebody knows they got to do something about it. Anyway. So whether that be in connection with British grant-funded major road construction projects, politicization of the police force, or the special prosecutor, now I call upon the governing SLP to be tough with its own members and candidates. Yeah, be tough with them. I'm not saying you're not, but especially those who behave indifferently, or with an I vex with you or I'm not talking to you attitude against even their own constituency group members and executives, because those members dared to criticize them. You can't be an MP or a minister. Usually they're both. You can't be an MP or a minister and months, years, you're not talking to your constituency group or constituency council chairman and other members, your own key people, because somebody told you they said something about you. You're not taking their calls. You're not returning their calls and messages. You're absenting them yourself from meetings with them, which are supposed to be constituency group, constituency council meetings. You're boycotting your own people because you have this kind of attitude that if anybody criticize you or somebody tell you they were criticizing you, you vex with them, you becoming detached and distant from them, you aloof, ufashek you and this kind of thing, and you're going into probably another election. And who knows, many of those people might just get so disillusioned with you, so frustrated with you, that it might end up losing votes. And not just any kind of votes, the votes of your own people who are supposed to be encouraging other people to come to you. I'm being told that there are at least 2 constituencies, there may be more, where this kind of thing is happening. The Mwefashi pou, Makapali pou, Makapon Kolo, who's the chairman of constituency group most have. But I've become so distant. I think the Labour Party, and I believe it's happening, the kind of Labour Party that we have, I cannot see them not doing anything. But I just, from my own observation, need to say, you need to say to people like that, if you cannot mend fences with your own caucus, with your own committees, with your own executive, with your own groups and so on, chances are you cannot bridge to get people, especially undecideds, especially people from the other side who disenchanted with their own party, the Flabo and Alan Chastney. You can't pull those people there. And you have to watch out for those people and let them know that their endorsement to contest the next election is not a foregone conclusion. It's not a sealed deal. It's not a settled score. That they need to work, on one of the ways they need to demonstrate that is to show that they have the ability to be in lockstep with the people who helped to get them elected the people who working there. And this kind of thin-skinned, childish, petty nonsense, that they got to stop it. You see, the same way I'm advocating for us to take on the C.O. Williams and whoever else is involved in those road projects and so on, the same way, take on MPs and candidates and ministers and so on who reach the stage where maybe they feel they're bigger than the people around them, the people who are supposed to work with them and they're supposed to work with, the people who helped to get them elected, who are keeping them going, but who now feel that, so criticize you, so rien. La même, you about this kind of thing. Watch out for this kind of things. This is the real issues, powered by Blue Waters. We'll be back in a moment to take your calls and your messages.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
McDowell's Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene, vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal functioning of cells, nerves, muscles, bones, and the heart. McDowell's Ginger Turmeric helps to relieve pain, decrease nausea and enhance the immune function to help protect against illness and infection. Ginger turmeric has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and improves your circulation. Don't hold health back. Let health strike back. McDowell's, the better way to start your health. Visit Health Service Center, John Compton Highway. Call 453-6417. Let your wellness be our stress.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM. The man.
For your calls into The Real Issues, powered by Blue Waters, on this Thursday, the 6th of March 2025. And I think we're getting our first call already. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Hey, what's up?
Motively say maka open wicket la wadia.
All right.
As so concerned about candidate selection na upala about la. Na pala about cash reserve office. La na process pour select candidate. Mais moun na ki an fight la ek minister ka fe bay la wrong. Vous comprenez? Il a passé la constituency, il a dit mon c'est lui qui a candidat les process là pour qu'on finisse. Il a mis division en constituency. Vous comprenez? Ça va regarder les pièces.
So, qui nous a parlé? Est-ce que Manzé Jawahi?
Lisa Jawahi n'a pas la bonne.
Ou si vous pas mentir les madame là et puis c'est ça.
Je me menti. Parce que plusieurs moun a dit moi c'est ça qu'il a fait.
So pour autant ni pourquoi?
Moi content ni pourquoi moi.
OK, point précaution avec ça hein, pas dire
ou même mais moi a dit moun les ka dit record libre moi pour moi ça moi besoin parce que c'est moun qui là pas menti quoi.
Est-ce que j'ai fait ça?
Vous comprenez pas quoi faire. Mais moi a dit plusieurs moun.
Et pas pas répéter bagaille côté peut-être ou ka calomnie moun et puis ou pourquoi approuver bagaille là ou même. OK, so point précaution avec ça.
Oui, moi je comprends tout ça au dia, mais moi c'est mon qui a dit ça, moi c'est ça qu'il a dit.
OK, moi j'ai déjà ici un monde moi savent qui bien concerné pour bénéficier avec bon télé bon parti et puis moi pas ni l'idée il fait rien par esprit, peut-être pas méga il peut faire rien, mais il m'a pas dit qu'il fait rien par esprit pour ça affecter et puis dommager parti les pièces manière. So moi pas les pièces moun venir dire bagaille ka concerné qui yo pourquoi approuver. OK, moi juste ka ba anti précaution.
Moi comprendre ça dire mais ça moi regarde encore 2021 elections nous pas Lisa il pas des part of campaign nous pièce nous pas les pièces plateforme nous pièce côté pour pas nous gourmet nous try best nous pour nous go un site là un site qui te difficulté pièce nous pas te quoi Joaquin de bad guy. OK, nous gourmet nous go un site là lui même Kenson est un dégozilé pour campagne. Il still a dit je casse sa office pour changer ID card pour vote by Kenson. Ou dia nous un site là, après un chimère peut ouvrir run. Ha.
OK.
Moi do.
All right.
Hierarchy party a supposé faire bonne décision. Si c'est Lisa, yo mettez à candidat, yo peut voter pour Gaïvier. Avec yo bien. Pas faire ça pièce. Avec yo hein. Okay, Sheldon.
Right,
bonjour. Bonsoir.
Okay, a WhatsApp message said Lone Jules attempted to bring Hiller in the mix, and I think the mix they're talking about is about this Julian Alfred Foundation. Good afternoon to you, Gaspar. You were trying to call me, but I tried calling you back more than once, couldn't get you. He says, well said, Papa. I think that's with something in my preamble. However, we have someone else on the line. Good afternoon, Real Issues. Hello.
Hi.
Yes, hi.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
I mean, I must really say that you look really professional this afternoon. I'm wondering what's going on.
Are there other times that I don't look professional?
I am not at all insinuating or implying that, sir.
Okay.
But let me tell you, the gentleman who called there, I saw he was speaking from a position of experience, where he had experienced the individual telling him the things that he did. We need to be cautious, especially as supporters of the St. Lucia Labour Party, because the former MP stood on a platform and he made statements in that regard. Okay, as to whether he is honest about it, and we know him and honesty, they normally pass on separate roads on the same day. Okay, but we need to be cautious. Call out MPs or call out people who are doing things that we know for certain they're doing them. Meanwhile, Shelton, I cannot stop encouraging people to find their way to ancillary on Sunday. Get to your constituency office, find your party branch leaders, find your executive, so that you know what transportation arrangements are for Sunday. We will not be going to St. Vincent to take a crowd to pretend that's what was in St. Lucia or Ancillary. We will not be going to St. Kitts to take a crowd picture and say that we have to present the real numbers. Also, Sunday is International Women's Day, and there's a prayer session
It's not
in
Sunday. It's not
Viewport
Sunday.
at
It's not
Binfield.
Sunday. It's Saturday.
Did I say Sunday?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Then I must be in okay, Saturday. Saturday, 8th of March, the Viewport women's group of the SLPW is hosting a prayer meeting, breakfast prayer meeting. So those who are able to attend, we wanted to start assembling from 5:30 because Shelton, ouais, c'est pas la café peut-être là, nous besoin la prier.
Okay.
Nous besoin chaque la prier. Pas seulement by Saint-Lucie. Nous besoin la prier by gouvernement, nous besoin la prier by constituency group là, by parti, by premier ministre là, by tous ces ministres là. On commence à faire ça parce que ouais c'est bouc ça sur l'autre side là. Ni un bon le western journée.
Okay, merci. We'll see. All right, the bank should make a public statement. That's someone else who sent the message, and I think that's with regard to the Julian Alfred Foundation. We have another message, well, several messages which say, let me see. How foolish of Venezuela when Trump is already going after Cuba and Venezuela, and American oil companies are in Guyana. Foolish. CARICOM support of Venezuela now jeopardized. And then another person says, good perspective on the Alfred Foundation matter. Yes, indeed. Fix now before they lose. I think that's with reference to the candidates and how they should go ahead canvassing and so on to show themselves as being, make themselves appealing and etc. without at the same time antagonizing their incumbent comrade, colleague, however we call it. Another one says splitting vote like Choiseul last time. Not sure with reference to what. And another person adds Trump in the wings, great dangers. I think we have another call on the line. Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Bonjour, Monsieur Daniel.
Bonjour pour vous.
Et puis bonjour les 7 lycéens d'or candidats. Bon, moi je voulais couiller. Bon matin, moi couiller Madame Nancy Charles. Et pour moi dire pour manière Alan Chasse ne ka traiter moun en pays à expressement moun qui a autre parti. Il pas bon, il fait me comprendre dat c'est bagay les ba parti après et puis yo ka fait moucher c'est comment. Moi aller en les Garfield show Oliver Garfield. Bon, moi connais monsieur très bien. Nous en même l'église, nous en même nous en même groupe ta chanter. Moi connais monsieur a bien. Il fait CV ça mais maman et puis maman résident c'est ici. Maman mariée et puis monsieur Jardin nuit. Bon, moi connais c'est mon bien. Bon, même vidéo à moi pour me voir by Andrew. Les me regarder en Ledman show Garfield, moi même vidéo Nancy a dit moi c'est les bas parti qui fait. Monsieur Terrell Pruden, longi les mains, by Alan Chasney. Alan Chasney pas by les mains. Alan Chasney pas même garder monsieur en zier pour te ouais that oh Terrell longi les mains. Nancy, moi vrai vidéo by André Paul. Et puis André Paul qui a regardé et qui faut savoir. Bon, moi je voulais couiller les 7 lycéens. Il fait comprendre que le gouvernement pas jamais fait rien et puis l'argent CIP et qu'il pas ça ben compte pour l'argent CIP yo ka recevoir. Moi fait comprendre tous ces projets là qui ka aller qui l'argent qui ka servi. Il dit c'est l'argent pays. Mais est-ce l'argent CIP pas l'argent pays? Tout ça projet, tout ça bagay yo ka fait. Minimum wage. CIP youth economy.
Top. Ou pas ça changer yo. Gouvernement ça a fait top bas.
Bon.
Il a tout bleu.
Even pensionnaire et puis l'argent, laptop là. La c'est chimère qui a fait là quand nous a parlé hier bon matin journée doté live te ka mouche projet qui te ka l'envali mabouya Olion, Guavin, un gap comme Ambrose là, un gap Guavin pour monter Belmont pour un copain, il était monter quoi c'est l'argent ça sorti Nancy. Côté c'est l'argent yo ka bay scholarship là, c'est l'argent yo ka bay c'est maman là pour l'école là. Qui côté l'argent ça ka sorti Nancy.
OK, nous ni l'autre mon dans la ligne là so
OK, ben une minute encore. Les techniciens pas juste prendre ça Nancy Kadie be flambeau ka prendre garder pour cause Yves Zezo pour cause garder qui laisse gouvernement qui a fait avec pays et qui a fait avec moun qui a pays. Merci Shelton.
OK, merci un peu. We have other callers on the line. Do we have somebody on the landline? All right, left already. Do we have anybody else on the WhatsApp line? All right, I think Senator Jawahi was trying to call me. Let me see if I can return her call. Hold on. Let me see. I'm trying to call Senator Lisa Jawahi back. But let's take that call on the line. Yeah. Yeah, hi caller. Good afternoon. Real Issues. Hello.
Yes, hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead. You're on the air.
But just quickly, I just hope that the issue with Julian Alfred resolved. And I know it resolved. I know the ministry has done quite a lot for sport. But Shannon, I just want the authorities with the sports ministry and the bank to be a bit more considerate or to adjust their policies. I don't know if they can do that through the Caribbean Development Bank, but trying to open an account for clubs or sporting organizations is very, very hard. It's really, it's not helping. And knowing that sports in our time now is not a hobby approach. You cannot have a hobby approach. You need good management. You need all the requirements that will make an organization, a business organization, meaningful and productive. But to open a bank account is really arduous. And so I'm appealing to whoever can do that. Even for me, as opening a bank account, spend so much time. Even venue for training, we have to look at sports and sports development and sports management in a different line than we did a couple of years ago. It can't be business as usual. I just want to make that point generally for sporting organizations.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I think Senator Jawahi is calling me and she's found me. Yeah, hi Senator, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Shelton, how are you?
I'm doing great, how about you?
Very good, thank you. I just wanted to, and I realized you are a few minutes before the close of the program, I just wanted to call to remind St. Lucians that all roads will lead to the Ancillary Waterfront from 4 p.m. this Sunday, March 9th. We have a really big public meeting. It will be our first public meeting for 2025, Shelton, and it's going to be grand. There will be entertainment, the political leader will be there, MPs will be there. Of course, you will hear from Honorable Wayne Gerard. All roads will lead to the Ancillary Waterfront from 4 p.m. this Sunday. So other persons were asking how they can get there. We'd like for you to contact your parliamentary representative and your constituency office, your branch office in your constituency. They have all the details in terms of the pickup times for the buses, the bus schedules, and the locations. So we're encouraging all comrades to come out this Sunday. It is going to be exciting. We are certainly ready. And Shelton, the thing is, there is no NDC meeting in Grenada where people can take copies and say, oh, our meeting is not as large as what we are trying to see, because I'm seeing a lot of photos going around where you are seeing photos of an NDC meeting in Grenada that took place over the weekend being used as photos of the opposition's public meeting. But we have no NDC meeting taking place. There's no Labour Party rally taking place this Sunday throughout the region. So what you will see will be a true representation of full-fledged supporters of the Labour Party. So we want to invite all St. Lucian supporters of the government, the Prime Minister, the Cabinet. All roads will lead to the Ancillary Waterfront from 4 p.m. this Sunday, March 9th, as we continue to work for the people of St. Lucia.
All right, thank you very much, Senator Lisa Jawai, the Communications Director of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And Jaquan, now that she's mentioned it, maybe we should play Is it a clip of the UWP seemingly taking footage of their own attendance at their most recent outing in Denry North, and using, because the color of the NDC in Grenada is yellow, so using pictures of the crowd that attended the NDC event, which featured our own Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, as well as Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and trying to make it believe that it was their event in Denry that was in Denry North that was so massive, that was so huge, when in fact the top, as it is shown out, is the truth. That is what the UWP's attendance in Denry North looked like. And this is in fact the Grenada thing, how it looked and so on, and it looks like somebody was trying to circulate it to make people believe that the UWP's attendance was a lot greater than it actually was. We still have time to take a couple more calls. The numbers are 487-9849. That's the line on which you can WhatsApp call us. And of course, you can also reach us on 4533-911. Okay? So we are just about 5 minutes away from the wrap-up of today's program. So get your call in as quickly as you can. We have someone on the line. Hi, good afternoon. Real Issues. Oops, that's the second time that we've lost somebody who was already on the line. Maybe they'll try back. Sorry, folks, I can't take all the calls all at once. It goes without saying. So if somebody's on the line, I know you're very eager to come through, but we have to, okay? All right, we have another caller now, I think. Hi, good afternoon. Real Issues.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Hi, good afternoon to you. Hello.
Yes, Shelton. Hold on up, please, Shelton.
That, when you're on the phone, Jaquan, we can't leave the dead air like that,
Shelton, I heard that the former Prime Minister want to take the government to court of CIP. But I want the government to take Alan Chasney to court also for our CIP money. He haven't tell us what he have done with it for the 6 years he was there. And also the vaccine money. I want him to tell us, when are we going to get the rest of our vaccine money? Although I hear he said it is in court. How could it be in court when you gave the man our vaccine money? Did the CEO, whoever, know about it? Dr. Delma know about it? We want to know. That's the question I am asking the former Prime Minister, and I want the Prime Minister to take him to court for that. Thank you, Shelton.
All right, thank you very much also. All right, we have another call on the line. Hi, good afternoon. Real Issues.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon.
Hello,
yeah, Molati Bomem.
All right, we're looking forward to tonight.
Okay. Yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to say about what is happening in Guyana. We should be very concerned about this because it can escalate into something bigger. I'm not really hearing it talking about it, but it is something very concerning. Yes, and also, Shelton, these guys, like I said before, it's like steel fish. Yeah, they repackaged, they rebranded, and they're expecting people to fall for it. It's the same recycle, guys. These guys need to reel and come again. They need to come better than that.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, Shelton. All right.
Thank you very much. Bye. I want to go back to the Venezuela thing. This is the time where we in the so-called third world, developing world, whatever, we need to pull together. We need to have greater cohesion and collective strength among us. This is not the time for us to be, nitpicking at each other over inconsequential, virtual non-issues or things that can be dealt with. Guyana and Venezuela are before the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, to resolve this border dispute that has been going on, that they thought was resolved since 1899. whatever where Guyana was granted the boundaries that it has in Venezuela. It's coming up again. Guyana has said, okay, let's go before the ICJ, and whatever ruling that the ICJ, we will abide by it. If the ICJ says that the Essequibo belongs to you, we'll accept that, and we're asking you to accept it. If the matter is under international judicial consideration, let it be. Let it be until such time. Don't go stirring up things now, at a time when CARICOM, Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, and so on, when we need to pull together against that menace that is coming, that is threatening to seize and to annex, no wonder he's siding with Vladimir Putin. I always told you all, that's why I could never support Vladimir Putin in what he's doing. The friendship between Putin, the obvious collaboration between Putin and Trump has been apparent. It's too close. I can't say I'm not supporting Trump and I'm supporting Vladimir Putin. But this is not a time for Venezuela to be doing things to cause a rift between itself and CARICOM and so on, unless, I don't know. This sounds very foolish, very ill-timed. Not just choosing your battles, but timing your battles very well. And that seemed like the worst kind of timing. There's no wisdom in it. Anyway, that's the real issues, folks, for today. Thank you so very much for having been part of it. Don't forget, Can I Help You Tonight, 8:30 with myself and Albert Fredis, filling in for Richard Frederick. And God willing, all things equal, let's do this again tomorrow for the final time this week from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on Real FM Radio, NBC Television, Facebook and YouTube live streaming. Thanks to Jaquan for another great job with the calls and the controls. Shelton Daniel signing out.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.